I'm actually gonna check it out, make sure that we are live. Hi guys, if anybody's already watching, welcome everybody. Yes, we're live. Gosh, when technology works, I feel like opening champagne and celebrating. And my friend Madeline says that she can see us. Mwah. That's great, amazing. All right.
Well, now I feel disappointed that there's no champagne now.
Well, it's really funny, Justin, because I actually did my online challenge and I started and ended my challenge with a bottle of vodka that looked like a Ukrainian statue. Mm-hmm. So that was interesting. And then,
nice.
Yeah. Anytime technology works, I'm happy. Hey, Lee. And Lee says he is Yoda. And April says, yay, love Justin Livingston. Can't wait for this one. Justin, can you see all these comments or is it just me reading them for you?
Something, 3 flashed up. I don't see anything right now, but
okay. I'll read them out. Don't worry about it. Okay. So welcome everybody. And I'm excited to have my really good friend, Justin Livingston. I've known Justin for many years. Even before my last business, we've gotten together. I've hired him. I've partnered with him. We've partied together, or whatever you can call partying in the business world. And I'm fortunate enough to see Justin every year at one event or another. And so, Justin, I know that you are in the middle of actually at the front of your biggest launch of the year, or one of your biggest launches of the year. So I know how busy you might be right now. And so I really appreciate you taking the time to be here and to share your wisdom with us.
Yeah, so, my pleasure. My pleasure. I think you'd probably be surprised at how busy I'm not, actually. But
I heard you say that earlier today, and I thought it's wonderful to have a team that really supports you and that you can trust to do what they need to do. Yeah. And immediately my question in the back, but don't you need to manage that team? You know, we had that conversation.
Not anymore, but yeah, I used to, of course, but not anymore.
That's really cool. Yeah. So I titled this particular conversation, Inside the Mind of a Thought Leader. And I just want to say that I was the one who called you a thought leader, that you would probably never call yourself that.
No, probably not.
So let me say why I think that you're, I don't know, is that me echoing something? There's some echoing going on.
Well, let me see. If it's me, let's see if this helps.
Maybe turn down the volume somewhere, yeah? Okay, hopefully this is good. But yeah, so a lot of people, and I, myself included, consider you a thought leader for many reasons. But the way that I've always, see your wisdom is that you test things a lot. And so when you say something, you don't just pull it out of a hat. It actually comes with information and data that can back up whatever it is you're saying, whatever it is you've tested, and you know it's working because. And so I feel like a lot of people in our industry are focused more on the creative aspect and throwing stuff against the wall. And if it doesn't work, moving on to the next creative aspect, and you don't do that. And I think that that's where people really, respect that and see you as a leader. And you also test a lot of things that other people haven't gotten to yet. So that's kind of like to give a perspective why you are the Yoda. And the thought leader in my eyes and many other people's eyes. But let me ask you this question. So we're going to talk about marketing trends. We're going to talk about live events. But what are you focusing on in your business as an entrepreneur? Like every day, what do you focus on? What's your role in your company?
Well, okay. I see that as being a bunch of different questions. The last part you mentioned is like, what is my role? Well, we have at this point in our company, we have like a very, what do you call that? Like heavily populated, I guess you could say, organizational chart. I've got, it's all relative, but I mean, we've got a fairly decent sized team now. So there is, I still maintain a few different roles in our organization, but they're very specific. So I don't really, I do the same types of things, or I do I guess you could say, a very limited number of things in our business. So I'm still the CEO of our company. So I'm responsible for setting the vision and the direction, the course, like defining what it is that we're building, what we're moving towards. I just recently again took back the CFO, what we call Chief Financial. What's the O?
Officer.
Officer. Yeah. Okay. Well, as long as I'm like organizer. What? No, that doesn't make sense. Anyway, I'm not very organized. So I'm definitely not any type of organizer of any kind. But you know what? We've had other people over the last number of years heading up our finances and what's that stuff. But we got into a little bit of an issue earlier this year in our company, and I jumped in to help and just remembered how much I love numbers and that type of thing. So the leadership team agreed that it was a good idea for me to take that role back, which I've enjoyed doing. And then other than that, I still design our campaigns, our marketing campaigns, like our launches and how we support our affiliates and our evergreen sequences and all that type of stuff. I design those. I don't create anything per se. Like I'm not doing the writing. I'm not necessarily producing the videos or whatever, but I design the flow of the campaigns. And then I'm still in our organization what we call a trainer, which is there's a limited number of things that I still deliver on. Like I have Milana, of a program that I run called The Leap, because you were a member of that program, one of the inaugural members of that. So I still lead the live events and the trainings that are associated with The Leap. And sometimes, here and there, hi Madeline, here and there I help out with regards to video production and which we consider that a trainer role. In fact, in our company, what I'm doing right now, we would consider this, I'm being a trainer right now in our company, whereas I'm the face of something, delivering some information, answering questions, delivering content, hopefully delivering value, though the viewer will have to be the judge of that, of course. And that's about it. I don't do anything else anymore. Just those things.
So externally, on the outside, your company seems very complex. To me, it does, and I think it does to me. So does it to many people who are watching you from the outside. Mm-hmm. And I'm curious, how do you handle the complexity of so much going on in your company? All the launches, the events, the projects, the team members. There's so much happening.
Yeah.
I feel like your brain literally needs to double its size every month to handle the complexity. But is there any simplicity in how you do things?
Yeah, to me, when it comes to simplicity, I really rely on structure, or even more accurately, what I would refer to as infrastructure. And so even though, from a delivery standpoint, even from a marketing standpoint, there's a lot of things that happen in our company day to day, month to month, or over the course of a year, whatever. But the reality is I'm not involved in very many things. I'm not involved in most of the things that happen in our company. Like we do, I don't know how many live events we do a year, probably 30. And I'm not, I lead the Leap event. So there's 3 of those a year. Mm-hmm. And I just led an event called Lucrative Launches Live, that's mostly just an event that we do for our affiliate partners and some people that win it. I don't think we'll be doing it anymore. And that's it. I'm not involved in any way with any of our live events. I'm not at the live events. I'm not involved in the production, the setup, the teardown. I don't know where things are stored. I don't know. I don't even know necessarily who the coaches are at the events. I'm not a part of any of that. It's not my job, and it's frankly none of my business. That may seem a little bit silly because I was like, what? But it is your company. It is your business. But I at a certain maturity level of a company, I believe anyway, what I practice and what I teach for people that are scaling their business, there comes a time when you have to let go of things and bring in really great people that can take ownership of certain areas. And once you give them ownership, like to me, let's say, our woman named Caitlin, who's responsible for the production side of our live events, right? So she finds the venues and she makes sure that we've got the proper staffing there and everything that has to do with the live events, that's her domain. And the decisions that are made within that domain are hers to make. It's none of my business. Like we treat it where that would be like me getting on the phone with you, Milana, and start poking my nose in what you're up to. It's like, it's none of my business, you know? If you ask me a question or for some advice, of course I'm happy to share, but I'm not about to stick my nose in and start telling you how to run your business. That's ridiculous.
So let me ask you this question. Maybe you've never been asked that, so I'm gonna put you on the spot a little bit here. What happens if Justin Livingston leaves the company tomorrow? Like, it sounds like your company just runs on its own. They don't need you. Why are you there? You leave tomorrow. What happens?
Well, there, frankly, if I can be completely transparent, that's been somewhat the reality in our company over the last year. Because, well, the reality is I'm still the CEO of our company, and I haven't done a very good job of that over the last year. I've been a bit kind of disinterested, not engaged, bored, I guess, is a lack of a better term. This is not at all where I thought this interview was going to go, by the way. So to a large degree, the company has been running without me, or at least in some ways me, at least in the leadership role, not doing as good a job as probably most people would think that I do. And so now there's been a negative impact on our company. So it's not like the infrastructure isn't so solid that I can just be completely removed and there's no impact of any kind. That's not true. But luckily, it had been developed to the point where the impact is minimal. It's, people have the knowledge and the resources available to them to be able to succeed at their own areas of the business, like what it is that they're accountable for and what it is that they have domain over. And that, of course, that's not something that we just like snapped our fingers and said, oh, well, we're going to have this because that's what a company should have it. I mean, that's from years of development and growth and, trial and error as far as hiring the right people and developing the right systems and stuff like that. But,
well, let's shift gears for a moment, because a lot of the people who will be watching this, they are interested in the concept of simplify and grow rich, and the idea of simplicity entrepreneurship, where you can scale your business and grow without building a monster of a business that will be difficult to walk away from, will be difficult to run and manage, will be difficult to grow and shift directions. So a lot of the people watching this, they truly want to understand, how do you grow while maintaining your own lifestyle? And like, I know you a little bit. So when you said that you were feeling a little bored, I'm like, I totally get that. I totally know that would be you. Yes. And by the way, I think that if you left your company, what would be missing from my perspective is that you are a great encourager of people. So there's something intangible that you bring to the company, whether you realize it or not, that people would be missing, like, that recognition and acknowledgement that you give to people unspoken sometimes of their talent.
Thank you.
Yeah, I think that is very intangible that you bring to the table. But how do you grow a business while keeping it simple?
Yeah. Well, I don't think that that's the dilemma that most people think it is. Because to me, it's a required phase. Like, the more complex something is, by definition, the harder it is to grow and scale. It would be like, if you think of a spider web as an example. Like, if you just look at a spider web, and if a spider manages to sometimes I'm walking through the forest and I'll see massive spider webs, and you try to think like, wow, how the heck did the spider create something so massive and so complex, its webs? But then when you actually look at the web itself, it's amazingly simplistic. It's a very simple pattern that's repeated over and over and over and over again. If the design of the web was complex, the spider would not be able to to get it to that size. And even if they did, it wouldn't catch the flies, and it would, as soon as it got a little bit windy, it would just break. It's the simplicity is a necessary step in scale. So to me, it's one before the other. It's not how do I achieve one while also doing the other. It's the process of continuously simplifying is probably the most important step in scale. And now that's not to mean that simplifying is therefore leads to scale, because I also believe that each of us are here to do exactly what we're here to do, meaning that scaling an enterprise is for some of us and it's not for others. And just because something is bigger, makes more money, serves more clients, employs more people, that doesn't make it any better than anything else. It just serves a different function. It meets a different purpose.
I feel like I need to do this. Is that how you do it?
Yeah, in our lead, Milana's referring to what we do in our lead community.
I get it. I hear that. I agree with that. This is the way the company grows, and it's great for someone, and this is another way that a company can grow, and it's great for someone else. So bigger doesn't mean better for everybody.
Exactly. And to me, I hope anyway, what's happening day by day in our space, in our community, which I mean, amongst experts and coaches and therapists and holistic practitioners and the like, is that more and more as our community matures and evolves, that each of us as individuals are allowing giving ourselves permission for the awareness of what is it exactly that we intend to do? What is it exactly that we intend to build for ourselves, for our communities, to whatever degree we want to have impact? What do we actually want to be doing with our lives day to day? And then having the confidence to build that. Nothing else, nothing more, nothing less. Just that which we desire. And anyway, that's my
awesome.
My wish.
For sharing that. So I want to talk about marketing trends. I also want to find out how you stay up to date with trends, because things are so fast. There's like an unprecedented amount of options and directions to go. Before we do that, though, I want to ask you. So you and Callan Rush, who are both in business, you guys are partners, and one of your biggest area of expertise for both of you, and the thing that you are actually in the front end of delivering right now or launching right now is the
starts tomorrow.
So wealth through workshops, and I've done a live event every single year since 2007. So that would be at least now 10 events, maybe 11 events that I've done. And I'm curious, I remember the time I announced my event with a few emails, and 65 people flew into Baltimore. And it was my very first event. Maybe people were curious about the lady behind the computer. I don't know why they came, but I'm curious, what is happening with live events, workshops, seminars, retreats now? Are people still willing to travel to events? Are people still willing to put their lives on hold and go to a live event? And if so, what is the biggest trend around live events? What's going to bring people into the room?
Well, definitely the short answer to your question is yes, absolutely. People are still willing to travel in order to grow in whatever particular areas they're looking to attain mastery in, or to growth in, or they have or part of their purpose or mission is associated with any topic area. People are definitely looking to and willing to travel. There's a couple of one of the things when you were talking about earlier, when you're saying that I'm known for testing things or whatever, I think that, which is, I think, true, but if I could be even more specific, I think, toot my own horn, if that's okay. One of the areas where I'm really fortunate is that I have the ability to be aware of my own biases and assumptions. And so I do a really good job of looking at some information. I get some type of a stimulus, right? Something happens. There's some occurrence, and I'm pretty good at not making meaning out of it that doesn't exist. Are you with me?
Yeah.
Okay. So one of the things that's happened in some industries or communities like ours, as an example, people are, some of our contemporaries are having a harder time filling their events now relative to, let's say, 5 years ago. So they put out the same energy, they're doing the same things promotionally speaking, but they're getting fewer people to their events, right? Okay, perfect. So then what they draw a conclusion there that people are less willing to come to an event. But that's not what that means. That's not necessarily what that means. There's a lot of things that could be occurring there. One is that they're practicing methodologies like promotional activities that are no longer as effective as they once were. Like people, so that, like email, I think we can all agree that email is just not as effective as it was. So if you're relying exclusively on email promotions to get any result, I don't care if you're selling shoes or filling an event, it's going to be a lot tougher because our inboxes are so full and open rates are much lower, click-throughs, etc. The other thing is if you're in a more mature space, a lot of what's happening, our industry in particular, Milana, I think you'll agree, is changing very, very quickly. And part of the reason for that is not it's not because it's this unique thing or that there's necessarily a bunch of things that are true in all industries going on, though there's some of that. But it's also true that in our space is just hitting a point of maturity that every other industry in the history of the world has gone through. Phenomena that, of maturity and consolidation and all of these things that are actually quite predictable. So one of the things about that is that in our industry specifically, and I'm talking about the very small little niche that exists of people that are teaching business to coaches and practitioners and the like, and consultants. It's a very small little sandbox, and it's getting hyper competitive. So it's not true that people are not traveling to go to events. What is true is they have a lot more choice of which events they're traveling to. So, to me, it's as true, or if not more true than ever. I'm a huge proponent of live events, as you know. I mean, myself and Callan, we built the main part of our business is focused on not only our own live events, but teaching people how to do live events effectively, how to fill them, how to design them, how to deliver, how to sell from stage, all that type of stuff, how to build a business around it. And the reason that we did that is based on a belief that we have, just a belief that we share, that live events are an optimal opportunity for transformation. We believe that the potential of what can be done in a live event capacity is far greater than what can be done in a virtual capacity.
If only you can get people there. I believe the same thing, actually.
Yeah, people have to show up, absolutely.
The transformation that happens at live events, absolutely. Yeah.
So, and I believe that that's becoming more and more true because people are becoming more and more accustomed to relating in a virtual, through virtual media, and which is building up the desire, whether or not people are aware of it in any given moment, for building up the desire for the human engagement, human interaction. And so it's, to me, the mission with regards to what we're doing on the live event side of things, to me, is only becoming more and more and more important. And
the connection piece.
Yeah, and for us, luckily, I mean, we'll see. We're heading into a season. We do a lot of our live events in the first 4 months of the year. So we're about to head into our live event heavy season of our business. We've been lucky. We haven't been negatively impacted by, declining numbers at our events yet, even though some of our contemporaries have. We'll see. Maybe this year we will. I hope not, of course, and we have things in place that will hopefully mitigate that. But
well, and your entire program that you're launching right now, that you're starting tomorrow, actually, is all about how to design an event that will attract people. And I think that's phenomenal, because you guys have so many years of combined experience, what works, what doesn't work, what you've seen out there, not only you personally, but you have students. You have thousands of students who've attended your events and your programs that you are teaching to do this. So I'm definitely going to be watching
There's another important thing though, where people make meaning where it doesn't exist. I think it's important for people watching this, because the thing is, for experts and practitioners and coaches, consultants, so they're learning about business from people like us, those of us who are teaching business to those people, obviously. But the problem with that is, so let's say you're hearing from me or from one of my contemporaries or whatever that, hey, our live events are getting harder to fill. But then the meaning drawn from that is because they're going to start teaching that. And imply that that's also true in other markets or other industries, where that's not necessarily the case. If you're in a very mature space, like let's say you're teaching real estate investing. Okay, well, that's been around for many time, a long time. Now I'm not in that space, so I don't know, but I would be willing to bet a lot of money that as far as what it takes to get people to show up to those events hasn't changed much. Because that's not an industry that's going through a significant maturation phase. It already went through it a long time ago. And so you want to be really careful about that. Another one I hear a lot, and people are saying that launches are dead and don't do launches, this and that. And they're hearing that from people whose own launches are getting lesser results. And they're making a meaning that it's the process of the launch itself that is deteriorating or getting. Whereas if you ask someone, like one of my good friends is in the dog training space, she's not, from her, it was like, what are we talking about? Launches are down. Every one of her launches only get, in different industries, there isn't the same level of competition. There isn't the same level of JV support where it's this kind of incestuous thing of everyone.
Well, she may be the only one doing a launch in the dog industry.
Exactly.
So for her, it works. But when you have so many people in our industry doing the launches, so yeah, for sure. Well, let's talk about the trends. And before you answer that question, it's funny, April is asking the same question that I was about to ask you. Is like, who and what do you watch and listen to kind of stay up with the trends in our industry? What do you do to keep up with the trends?
Interesting. You know what?
There are people who are trendsetters, and there are people who are trend watchers, and I think you can be both. So
here's the thing. It might be a surprising answer, but I think a valuable one. I haven't been watching people in our space, and the reason is because of where our industry is as far as its maturation. All of my study for the last at least a year, if not a little bit longer, has been studying other industries. I've been studying industries that are more mature than ours and watching how they progressed and how they evolved, and then through that trying to do my best to have an idea or a prediction, if you want to call it that, as to what's occurring next for us. So to me, it seems a little bit silly to be analyzing a bunch of people that are floundering, not knowing what's coming next, afraid because things are changing so quickly, feel like the sky is falling because things that they did 2 years ago don't work now. To me, I do my best not to spend my time paying attention to any of those people because I just don't see the benefit in that. I don't see where that pays off. So I've been definitely, like I said, looking outside our industry and taking guidance from what's happened already in more mature markets.
Interesting. So when I started first working with coaches and then the coaching industry, I heard people say, well, coaching is like psychology. It's going to follow that trend or that curve, whatever, of maturity, like you were saying. And so as you look at psychology as a field, you could see that now it's regulated and there are organizations.
Totally.
And people started saying that coaching is not going to be regulated.
Yeah.
And we're still not there. And I don't think it's happening anytime soon.
Well, I don't know about that. I mean, how it's really hard to guess on the timing of things. But I mean,
it's not happening yet. Let me put it this way.
I think that it's not going to, I think, would be a bit naive, especially if it gets big. I mean, the thing is, there's a couple of trends that I've like very generic trends that I've found in studying other industries as they mature. And one really interesting thing is that, with one exception, which I'll talk about in a moment, that markets always mature in favor of the consumer. I have yet to find an example otherwise, which is amazing to me. Super cool. So what I've been spending my time doing is actually listening to the people in our community. What is it day to day that they're complaining about? When I attend masterminds and live events and whatever, emails that we get from our, what are they complaining about? What are the common things that people just can't let go of, this, their frustrations, and then recognizing that, okay, it's fairly easy to predict, if there's, let's say there's a few of those that are in common, which I found 5, but I'm not saying I'm right or wrong, but to me, there's been 5 big ones. There's probably been more, but anyway, 5 that I chose to do something about anyway. And then to predict where the industry is going, it's just like, oh, okay, well, these issues, these 5 issues that everyone's complaining about will be solved. At some point, like whether it's a year from now, 2 years from now, 3 years from now, these 5 issues will not exist. Somebody's going to make a fortune solving those issues. That's how the space will mature. I mentioned that there's one exception in any market. It's when there's government interference. So when government steps in and thinks that they have a better idea, that they need to protect everyone or whatever other ridiculous notion, usually it's because they've got they're getting cut in from some backdoor deal, blah, blah, blah. Anyway, I won't get into all that. But when government interferes in the maturation of an industry, that's the only time I've seen where the consumer doesn't necessarily win. Like if you look at healthcare, particularly in your country, that's a good example, right? Government interference leads to a situation where a lot of people go without it, right? So,
right. By the way, by your country, Justin means America because he's in Canada.
Correct.
People don't think we're talking about Ukraine and the state.
Exactly. Yeah, I'm Canadian. I live up in Vancouver, British Columbia.
What are the marketing trends that you've seen that transformational leaders, coaches, authors, speakers, experts who sell any kind of personal growth information or expertise should pay attention to? What are you seeing, Justin?
Well, one of the things I've been preaching for a while now is that I think if you're selling information, you're fighting a losing battle. You're on the wrong side of where this is going. If you look at the younger generations, if you look at people in their 20s as an example, what value do they put on information of any kind? They don't. Milana, for you, ask your kids. Ask them if you haven't already. Information to them has no value. Why? Because this is, anyway, I don't want to think.
That's your cell phone. I got it.
Yeah, we've all got one of these. Like, why would any kid care? These, like, why you want to learn about history or even math or anything like that? Why? Everything that you need to know is right here. It's like we've got it at our fingertips already. Why would we take space up here? That doesn't make any sense, right? So that's just one example. But the idea of selling information now, you're fighting a losing battle. Information is free, has no value. So one of the things to think about, and what Cal and I have been doing for a few years now, is think about how you can generate, first of all, how you can serve people, but how you can generate income and profit without having to put value on the information or have to draw, how it is I help people with that. I think a really powerful question you can ask. Let's just pretend I was like some type of godlike figure and I got to have my will impose on everyone. So for someone viewing, I would say, okay, if I said as of today that you are not allowed to sell information. You can't, not allowed. You have to give it away for free. What would you do to generate a profit? How would you profit from that? And I can guarantee that there is at least one answer, if not many answers to that question that are actually, it's an idea or a concept that is easily 10 to 20 times as profitable as what you're doing right now. Easily.
The question is, how would you create income and impact if you couldn't sell information?
If you had to give away all of your information for free. Which in our company, we've been doing that for years already anyway, but how would you generate profit?
That's a very insightful question. I hope, guys, you are taking notes of that. I actually just, I'm going to put that on the screen. It's very thought-provoking, very deep question. I've actually been thinking about that for a couple of years because I think I started my business a little bit before you did, Justin. I had my first information product in 2001. And then
wow, we didn't start till 2008.
Yeah, and I love that you're saying that, watching other industries. In fact, the way that I have started in the coaching industry is by watching what people did in internet marketing, because it was a few years.
Great example.
Right. And I was seen as the pioneer of the coaching industry for that reason, that I would learn stuff in the internet marketing, bring it to the coaching industry. And I was a web designer, so I was kind of in between those two. And I think that was fortunate for me. The timing wise worked really well. So I love that. So how would you create income and impact if you had to give all your information for free? We're not going to get into the answers here, but I do love the question. And hopefully people will.
That's not the answer to that question. Is not necessarily something that's going to pop into someone's head like that. It may, if it does, awesome.
Yes.
That's something that could take a lot of contemplation. But
so information is and it's free, and it no longer comes with the value that we used to put on it. I mean, do you remember the times when people developed software to protect their intellectual property? They password protected their information. They complained of digital theft. They were complaining that their products are being sold on eBay. Like all of that, that's gone. I haven't heard anybody complain about that anymore. Any password protection software for that. Any other ideas or thinking that we should be doing around marketing trends, or looking at transformational leadership and where it's going and what we need to pay attention to?
Yeah, I mean, the other thing that comes to mind, I've been saying for a while, the idea of engagement. There was a time where we used to talk about conversion all the time. Conversion, opt-in rates and click-through rates and, all these different points of conversion. And I think social media slowly but surely has really changed that. To me now, it's much more about engagement. And it's a little harder to measure, but if you look at a lot of the leaders in our space and definitely beyond, they have massive audiences, but they don't necessarily have. Well, they may have a big email list, but they're definitely not restricted to that. Like they could have thousands of people downloading podcasts. They could have a YouTube channel that has a bunch of followers. They've got one or more Facebook groups and pages. And then, of course, they've got their email list. And maybe they've got some type of a video-based online show or something like that. Some of the ones what are these called? I don't even know. Many of the ones I haven't even used yet, like Instagram and Snapchat and all these crazy things, like where they're keeping their message and in a lot of cases their life front and center with their audience, and keeping a community of people engaged in what they're up to. And to me, that's going to be moving forward. It's only going to become more and more and more and more about engagement than it is about the idea of sending an email to someone, getting them to click on a link and buy something, which would be more of the old approach, this idea of when we're just thinking in terms of conversion. So that's kind of a macro idea, I think, that people are only going to need to be more and more concerned with. And then, I don't know that it's necessarily a marketing trend, but as the coaching expert space, transformation leader space matures, there's one really good piece of good news about it. And that is that it's going to become easier and easier and easier for each of us as individuals to be doing exactly what it is that we want to do. However, the caveat with that is that people are going to it's going to be required of people to have the awareness of what it is that they actually want. Now that may seem like a simple kind of a thing. My experience in working with a lot of people is, and my own life too, that's not a simple thing. A lot of us are driven by achieving or doing the things that is expected of us, or the things that we think are better than. Like, as an example, I know I've been guilty of this. Striving to do a particular achievement in business because I think that it's setting me apart, or setting a standard of which I'm better than someone else. Like, yay, I've done $1 million launches, or this many X $1 million launches, or my business has reached X amount of revenue, or whatever. As if that's, now if that's the very thing that any one of us is really driven and born to do, awesome. I'm not saying that's a bad thing. But if it's not, there's a lot of us in our space, we all refer to each other as entrepreneurs. Our space is littered with people who are not entrepreneurial at all, yet they identify with that label. And to the degree that that stays true for them, they're going to struggle. But if they have the awareness, let's say someone is, at the end of the day, I just love coaching. I just love being face-to-face or on the phone with someone who has a particular issue or a particular dream and intention, and I just love being there with them and walking them through their inner blocks to be able to achieve that thing. If people have that awareness, then there's going to be so many opportunities moving forward for them to do just that thing, and not have to worry about building a client care team or building marketing funnels or all that type of stuff that's necessary in a more entrepreneurial venture.
So one of the things that I talk about when I talk about simplicity entrepreneurship is that a simplicity entrepreneur is somebody who is willing to overlook many choices and focus on the biggest opportunity in front of them, or allow the biggest opportunity to reveal itself. And maybe you already answered that question, but if you were mentoring somebody right now, how would you guide them to discovering their biggest opportunity?
Well, I think even to be able to measure an opportunity, how do you do that? How do you take one opportunity against another and decide which is better?
Something that is going to bring you the most financial and emotional gain, and maybe create the most impact. Depends on what somebody sees as an opportunity, right? Yes.
Well, that's my point, is that it totally depends. Each of us can only weigh our opportunities against our own end vision. What is it that we actually want? And the reality is that that's going to be unique for each of us. So each of us we have to weigh opportunities in our own unique way. I can't look at opportunities the same way you do, Milana, because I know for a fact that you and I want very different things. I know that for a fact.
Well, I know we both want dogs.
Yes. So we can weigh that. So there may be some commonality of opportunities there of dogs. Yeah. But what I'm aspiring to do through my business and my life and things I enjoy doing aren't the same as you. So the opportunities in front of us, they can't be weighed identically. They can't. Yeah. And so to me, the very first thing, I get to the point where I'm so sick of hearing myself and say it. I know Dr. Tony Pennells from my elite.
Yeah, I just spoke with him the other night. We were trying to catch up on Australian time.
Oh, nice. So being in mastermind environment with him, it's like every single time he ends up asking the same question to everyone. It's like, well, what are you building? What are you building? What are you building? What are you building? The only way to be able to weigh opportunities, if someone's going to ask me for advice on something, hey, should I go path A or path B? Well, it depends where you're going. Do I turn right or turn left? Well, I don't know. Are you going to the grocery store or the bank? It's a completely different answer depending on where you're going. So I think that the most important thing that people can do at any given time is, to the best of their ability, is to have an awareness of what it is that they actually want, what they actually intend to be, do, and have.
So glad that you're saying that. This is like a big chunk of what I do with people as well. Is I call it the simplicity filter, is figuring out what's important to you so we can measure every opportunity against those things.
Yeah.
So you kind of address that. So For those people who just joined us, by the way, guys, you're welcome to ask questions. I do have a couple of questions that came in for you specifically, Justin. One of them is from Janelle Fraser, and she said, I'm going to put Justin on the spot. The question is, what has been your most recent personal struggle? And feel free to share as much or as little of it as you want. Because, people at the top of their game in business have struggles just like anybody. And I think that that's what she's trying to find out.
Yeah, I would say for me, I think I was kind of alluding to it earlier. It's been going on for a while for me. I'm definitely of discovery or something. I guess, even you say, hey, at the top of your game, I guess to the extent that that's true, it's become boring. To me, I feel like I'm playing a game that I've already won. And so I'm not having a real easy time discovering what's the next game I want to play. And the result of that has been just not real engaged in my business, not really excited by anything that's going on day to day.
Challenge, like you like to have a challenge in front of you.
Totally, yeah. So I mean, relative to where I used to work, you would know. I used to work a lot of hours in our company, a lot. Which a lot of people do. It doesn't necessarily set me apart. I don't anymore. I mean, I probably average 3 hours a day or something. I work very little, and the time that I do work is not productive. I'm not getting a lot done in those 3 hours relative to what I used to get. And a lot of it, it's just being bored and not real clear on what's the next thing that I'm going to be really excited about, mastering, or what's the impact that I'm excited by having next, or creating.
That totally makes sense because you need to be stimulated by a challenge, and if it feels like it's been done before, or you've done it before, or you've delivered or taught or tried or tested it before, it feels like what's next. And if you have that next exciting challenge in front of you, it can certainly get really boring. I was going to ask you, what do you do when you get bored?
Well, what I have been doing a lot. I mean, I'm back to training, like my martial arts and fighting. When I've been doing that a lot. I'm teaching now. I teach 5 times a week. So I'm spending my time doing other things that I enjoy, which is nice.
Cheryl Thompson asked the question, what is the most valuable thing that you do each day, like your game changer? What would you say that might be?
The most valuable thing that I do every day is physical exercise, for sure. Things go definitely things are a lot easier in my mood, everything when at some point in the day I physically exhaust myself. And which is why, one of the things I love about fighting and sparring, it's like, that definitely meets that objective.
So is there a mixed martial arts school in your future as a business?
Well, maybe that's a possibility. As of right now, I mentioned I'm teaching, but I'm supporting my teacher in growing his school. And he just opened a new location, and so I'm teaching under his umbrella, and I don't necessarily, I don't see it necessarily getting to the point where I want to go off and do my own thing. I think I would just, but we'll see. You never know.
I've always wanted to have a music school or some kind of an artistically oriented school, but the last time that I did calculations, I realized that even working 40 hours a week, I would be making exactly $30,000 a year. And that's when it became clear to me that I'm more passionate about building businesses than about building a music school. So
there's not the same kind of thing happens for me too, though. Of course, in teaching, this only shows up in your Facebook group, right?
And it's going to go out to my list as a replay. So be careful what you say. What are you going to say?
I don't think this will get out into our community. Well, just that I just didn't ask permission to say this, but I don't think in this circle will matter. But in teaching in training for my teacher, when it came time to ask, like, okay, well, let's talk like what's in this for you, and how much do you want to be paid per class and all that. I was like, Marcus, just pay for my parking so it doesn't cost me anything to be here, and we're good. Like, to me, it's not about, could I starting my own school? I do the math like, well, why would I, from a financials perspective, why would I ever want to do that? The answer is I wouldn't. So I don't. I choose not to get paid for teaching jiu-jitsu because why? I mean, it's not going to move the needle for me financially, and why would I even want to? I do it because I love doing it, right? So anyway.
Well, this was so much fun. We went into places that I didn't plan on, and we probably didn't plan on.
No, definitely didn't.
Going with the flow. Thank you so much. So I want to just say that tomorrow I'm going to kind of let people know what's happening next for you and Callan. I love that you have launched this program several times in the past, but you don't ever fail to deliver something new and something fresh and the new look at the whole idea of live events. To me is fascinating because I've done all kinds of events. I started with a pitch fest because everybody else was doing a pitch fest.
Yeah, those were effective once upon a time. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, where everybody was speaking, like 3 speakers in the morning, 3 speakers in the afternoon. Everybody was making an offer. And then this guy from Malaysia came up to me in 2008 and he said, "You should be paying me to listen to these pitches. I flew all the way from Malaysia to be here, and you're selling." And honestly, I was like, ridiculous. Everybody's doing it. But something deep in my mind and in my heart touched me when he said that. And I started searching for a new format. So my next event was a boot camp. And a boot camp is where you stand on stage for 3 days and you teach, and then you pass out at the end of the day. I did. Or you get a migraine. And so that quickly got old for me. And then the third type of an event was a networking event, like a purely networking event, which the event that I created with my business partner in the last company. And that was really successful. People really loved that. But it was more difficult to monetize. And so in all honesty, for me personally, I have not yet discovered an event model that would be very profitable and aligned with what I want to do. And so I'm excited to explore that through your program and by what you guys are teaching. So anybody who is aspiring to do events, to start offering retreats, workshops, seminars, free events, paid events, this is what we're going to be talking about for the next couple of weeks with Justin.
Nice. So, I appreciate that. Thanks,
Milana.
Milana.
Yeah. Well,
and then, and as you move forward with that with yourself, if I can support you in any way, let me know.
Thank you. Well, why don't you just run my whole event so I don't have to pass out and you can.
Yeah, well, I don't know if you want me running an event. Definitely not one of my aptitudes. Although I do have some amazing people on our team who could pull that off for you in amazing fashion. But it wouldn't be me.
Justin, it was my pleasure. Thank you so much. Go enjoy the rest of your day. I hope you launch goes smoothly. I wish you good luck. And I can't wait to learn from you and to share your wisdom with my people.
Nice. Thank you, Milana.
Bye,
pleasure.
Everybody. Oh, we have a different way to kiss there. Bye, everybody.